In my latest spontaneous video, I reported on how, on July 30th, 50 to 60,000 people illegally entered Ceuta, the North African Spanish exclave, and on Spain's rapid response. I also discussed how Europe reacted to the crisis in a not-so-surprising, non-cooperative way. On Monday and yesterday, August 4th, the media reported more information. Instead of 50 to 60,000 people entering Ceuta by sea, it was actually 72,000 people, 70,000 of whom have returned to their homeland. That's 97.2% of people. Ceuta is a city of 80,000 people. So I don't usually condone certain media conglomerates and celebrities using this sort of language. It can easily be described as an invasion. The Moroccan government broke its silence on this act by declaring innocence, saying that human traffickers were the actual instigators. These scoundrels used Spain's Supreme Court ruling on July 8th that migrants arriving by sea generally had to undergo formal legal processing rather than being immediately returned under the same procedures used for people climbing the border fence. Spain in turn rejects this premise, and some politicians even argue that such a massive movement of people would have been extremely difficult to hide without or prevent without significant failures or reduction in Moroccan border enforcement, which their southern neighbor denied, again directing to the human trafficking report. So they just let human trafficking happen in their country? Great. Just great. On Tuesday, an extraordinary meeting of EU interior ministers took place via video conferencing with regards to this crisis. It was expected that Spain would be receiving a diplomatic tongue-lashing after 22 EU governments did the same thing in a letter on Saturday, August 1st. However, in this meeting, the word solidarity was widely expressed to Spain, and condolences to the 88 lives lost. Several reports describe the virtual discussion as a de-escalation, with ministers rallying around Spain once they had received updated information about the rapid returns and the lack of onward movement into the rest of the Schengen area. Stronger cooperation between the EU members and its neighbors was encouraged, as well as the full implementation of the new Migration and Asylum Pact. Needless to say, that was embarrassing, disappointing, and frustrating to follow. The big question still remains: how did approximately 70,000 people manage to reach one of Europe's most heavily monitored borders within such a short period? That, my dear viewers, is something that we might not know soon or ever. As it has been pointed out by the media, Morocco is an invaluable partner for the EU as a neighbor who works hard in controlling and monitoring migrant flows. Yeah, we saw that. And Spain has requested the EU to not investigate it further or question Morocco's role in this, arguing that it was indeed human traffickers who, again, seemed to be allowed to snatch people throughout Africa and get them to the Mediterranean with no trouble and promise of a European land, no matter how much effort the Mediterranean governments seem to be putting into combating this heinous crime. The EU is set to give Morocco more support to continue that great anti-trafficking partnership. Maybe it was money that was already planned to go to Morocco, but even if it was, quite poor timing in them, which honestly, it's the European Union's specialty, poor timing. Brussels, and by this I mean the national governments that also compose the EU, want to hash this out and build a united front. It will take a long time for me and others to be convinced by that. This migration crisis has been going on for more than a decade. I was a less intelligent, more young person back in 2015, 2016, when the New Year's Eve attacks happened, and the discussion that took place there. I know it's a different story, but related, so please bear with me. Many of the identified suspects are from North African countries, mainly Morocco and Algeria, while others were asylum seekers or recent arrivals from countries such as Iraq and Syria, which were going through or Syria just was going through a civil war. Even though you hear the Wir schaffen das Arab legislation being corrected or reversed, in Germany and in Sweden, another known liberal country, being stronger on criminal mind. That 2015 to 2016 story stayed with me since it happened. It was scary to follow the news. And I hope that these more increasingly reported organized migrant flows from Eastern Europe and Northern Africa make our leaders really think it cannot be like this. And as I've mentioned in the previous video, Frontex, a coastal protection agency, exists. Strengthen it, enforce it. More coordinated cross-border exercises and partnerships are taking place in these last few years. Enhance them. I'm not saying no one is welcome here. There are regulations and procedures for that to happen legally, and if someone believes that they can be safe in Europe, then sure. And I believe that you still can be safe in Europe. I'm saying that by dealing with these situations without any real consequences for the system abusers, the human traffickers, and those who use the human traffickers, you are putting a bandage in an open bullet wound that needs to be disinfected and closed. My name is Kendra Stenberg. I occasionally post videos here. I'll see you in the next time.